Second video for Thursday coming at you, and this one is all about Cavalier difficulty. Now, for me, this month has been a bit of an odd month. Regardless of the state of Cavalier, being proactive with grinding in MCOC, which is weird. I'm actually in an alright space with the game, whereas last month, month before, October we had Cosmic Horror. I've been a bit kind of like unsure about like where the game's going and stuff. So basically, regardless of the scuff, I'm up for the grind. But that doesn't mean that Cavalier is this month in a good state. It's actually a big surprise for players. And more so because I think it was like 2 days notice prior to then get it done that players had to go like, hey, shape up, we've got some new nodes. And that's not great at times. I think it's more so not so great because it's a dynamic shift from the likes of having hashtag champions as opposed to the class-based system, which we're all familiar with. And the Cavalier system, in any case, that there are some good points, but unfortunately, the way I've kind of like seen it is there's a lot more bad points than good points. And that's just down to where you are with the game and your experience. So it's been great for skill-based players with the depth of roster, and also the crossfight to the end boss has been something that's been, a nice little kind of thing. It's nice to see like, okay, so you can build up your crossfight Fury passives, so this short temper type thing that kind of like builds up to the enemy boss to use that, whereas before with the Cavalier difficulty you weren't able to do that. So it made that, not to say that it made boss taking down easier or harder, it's just a case of this makes things more interesting. I think I'll say that. But yeah, and there are some fun things. Like I did enjoy some of the crossfight abilities, and also like some of the hashtags. For me personally, 2.2 and 3.1, I think it was, are my most kind of like favorite ones. 2.2 is because it's hashtag Avengers and there's a large splattering of hashtag Avengers. But I think when this kind of like gets better is that non-hashtag champions were the more usable champions in this. So it kind of goes like, well, why have we got these hashtag champions? And that's the thing, a lot of people were saying to me, oh yeah, it's easy, it's great. And I said, and I'll be like, yeah, did you use any of the hashtags? Oh no. Well, what is this then? Is this like a variant? It's like variant 8, where in the last boss it was a case of like, well, we didn't use any of the hashtag mercenaries to take down Venompool in the first run. It was a case of going like, oh, well, you've got Apocalypse. Have you got Mr. Fantastic? Can you get the rated debuffs off? Can you reverse the healing? Can you do that? Oh, right, yeah, we don't use the hashtags then. Use something different. So, yeah, it does come on the back of like a lot of this kind of weird hashtag interaction where, in some cases, like looking at 2.2, for example, which we're in at the moment, it's a case that the enemy will gain an energized buff, which is increasing their combat power rate by 75% for 8 seconds, which if you don't have a hashtag Avenger, or kind of like at times I was going like, well, do I really need a hashtag Avenger? I think I relied on Falcon and Black Widow Deadly Origin, but most of the time I was using the likes of Doctor Doom and Magic and any kind of power control champion that kind of came my way. And that was just like, again, like why have the hashtags if other champions are usable? And look, let's face it, let's be brutally honest, Marvel Contest of Champions is about like trying to find options and counters for content. Yeah, I think we all get that. But then again, it does go back to the focus point of, well, this was meant to be about new hashtags replacing class advantages, or not class advantages, but class opportunities for grind. Also, if you're wondering whether or not Kabam are taking any of the feedback seriously, they are. Myself, many other creators, and as well people on the forums have given that feedback to Kabam that maybe this was like too much too soon, and that really can be seen when it comes to like crystals acquisition and things. One thing to point out is like, well, there's a kind of a crystal missing, isn't there? That there's no hashtag crystal. Now, would that be a better option for acquisition and stuff like that? Yeah, damn right. Like, you're looking at here going like, right, well, we have dual class crystals, which target 2 different types of classes. But then we don't have something called a hashtag mercenary crystal. We definitely don't have a hashtag Avengers, and we definitely don't have something else that would be beneficial for this that's in regular rotation. So therefore, your options and what you've ranked up is going to be for the old scheme of Cavalier difficulty. and there's no kind of like further preparation. You know, if Command said 6 months ago, just that, you know, we are planning down the line to put in something that is hashtag related, then at least it kind of like, number one, benefits variants if you're going for a grind with variants, to say, hey, here's a hashtag Avengers crystal, a hashtag mercenary crystal. But the second part is going, look, it allows players further preparation to do something like this. This is something that if Kabam, you know, are watching and they're interested in, do that. Look to things like hashtag crystals, but nothing that's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, there are like crystals like it, and look, you know, what is there this month? I mean, Command to a degree are doing these like sinister synergy crystals, which allow players to acquire, but it's not giving you a direct 5-star of that hashtag making. It's giving you more of a splattering of 3, 4s, maybe 5 stars, and maybe 6 stars if you are in that realm of getting the Cavalier crystal. But still, there's nothing of like a regular crystal, similar to the dual class crystal, and similar to like a regular kind of like crystal that's in there that you can choose. Oh, right, okay, well, it's mercenary crystal today, and then tomorrow it's hashtag Avenger crystal. It's just all about further preparing players. And that's the thing about going like, oh, is this all of a sudden, and it's like, oh, and players don't like change. No, players like to be informed of what's happening in the future. That way that they can then create higher ranked champions, but also deal with the fact of acquisition. And that is the main thing that I'm trying to make with this point. If players knew a lot longer ago, and at the same time were able to grab an opportunity to pick up even a 5-star, 565, it gives them, or a 5-star rank for whatever you're capable of doing, it gives you preparation for something like this. And that being said, there have been some things that I've liked and things that I've not liked. So we're in 2.1, and as much as I like it, I also don't like it. So I'm going to be trying to like break this down, pausing the screen and stuff. The main thing I feel like how this works, because it's very much like Spider-Verse, is create those evade charges like I'm doing right now. And then it's a case of like building up to there, and then allowing, yeah, you're free flowing with the AI to kind of come at you like here. But the biggest problem with this that I find is watching the top right hand corner, and that's something that, you know, there's the mistake that I just kind of showcased right there, is a case of like I'm watching the right hand corner rather than watching the fight. And the problem with doing that, it takes away from, number one, the combat element, but also finding a champion that quickly rotates. And quickly rotates around the heavy attack, because if I could time it well like there, I can get myself stacked up quite nicely on those crossfights, which is the top left hand corner. And in that moment, like as I said, like there's a lot of stuff going on, even more so if I'm having to kind of like talk through what I'm doing and kind of like playing at the same time. So concentrating on the top right hand corner for when the unblockable comes up, concentrating on the left hand side to make sure that I've got that evade up. Also making sure to quickly stack when it comes to that quick passive stun debuff that pops up to quickly rotate a heavy attack, which is possible to do. It's just one of these things where if I'm concentrating on like 3 different things at the same time, then I don't really like that, because at the same, if I'm trying to like quickly get through this content, because, you know, hey, we want to get through the content and we want to get done quickly. And that's what Cavalier difficulty has really been about. It's all about going like, okay, right, new things, what are the nodes, right, okay, bish bash bosh, get it done, and then then you focus on some of the other content. And that's the thing for you know, especially for Cavalier players, and also kind of lower Thronebreaker players, and maybe players in general, they just want to get the content done without having to kind of like, you know, read a bunch of nodes and also kind of like reset what they're doing. I mean, for me personally, if I didn't have this kind of 7-day challenge, which I did in 6 days, Cavalier difficulty 100%, then, and by the way, that's from like doing like increment, like bits of time. It's not just going like, okay, I've got to do it now. It can become a bit of a drag. Now, continuing 2.1 and talking about, say, the way that the nodes have worked, like it has been relatively fun to like take a symbiote champion, and I've had great fun with doing a video on Summoned Symbiote, some of the other kind of like symbiote champions that I've used for this, Spider-Verse champions, stuff like that, Spider-Man 2099 I used as well. But there is the other side of things, and the enemy AI is trash. It's kind of like, I think, got worse over the last year. When champions are very defensive and also do not throw their special attacks, and I've had some instances where it's just been for a minute plus that enemies don't throw special attacks, it is just so I don't know, it's so bad, right? It's so bad for the interaction, especially with stuff like this. If an enemy champion is going to hold on to a special attack and have an unblockable at some stage, if they've got an SP2 that you are waiting around for, and the first part of it is blockable, then it cycles through to be unblockable, right? It's not just a case of like you're having to kind of like watch too many things going on the screen. But if that first part you block, but then the second part you're going to get instantly hit, like you're unavoidable based on the unblockable damage, then, and you don't have an evade charge, you are screwed. Likewise, the same thing can be from the evade charge kind of like clicking you back. Like it will just like evade the first part on the unblockable, but it won't engage a block. So you might be there just kind of like, I don't know, free-handing like this, going like, okay, well, if I put my thumb down, right, is it going to engage that block element? And that's the problem with that node, especially with here with 2.1. So there's some good stuff about it, but also some bad stuff. When the enemy AI is not interacting correctly, the way that the node will judder you back, it will like, boom, like he'll take you back with that evade charge. But as well, it doesn't engage the other element, which will be a block to block that, that other bit of that special attack. And I've had that multiple times. So that means that that node isn't built properly for something what is like a quick jolt for you to be able to have that input recognized. And that is a problem. There's also some nodes in 3.1 overly specific to get gains from one specific champion or just a small handful of champions. And again, that does go back to what I said about the idea of a hashtag crystal for acquisition, especially if Kabam plan to roll this out more of a regular thing. So yeah, there's some nice stuff, but a lot of the time I found myself using champions just not associated with this because it's all about quick rotation. Quick to access stagger champions was suppressing armor buffs, and that's like a better option. The same way with dealing with unstoppable with the likes of 2.2 with the hashtag Avengers. Not hashtag Avengers, but one of the various others. But it's just like those stagger champions, bleed champions with I think it's 2.2. You're just looking at different options that are better for this. Suppressions with stagger, power control champions, armor up champions, armor suppression with armor break champions. You know, power control. Yeah, those champions that are not covered by the hashtag seem to be some of the better options. And this is why even if you look at the likes of my Cavalier cheat sheet and as well as the amazing work done by Cat Murdoch. So there's the Cavalier cheat sheet right there. And a lot of times I was kind of like going like, well, you know, champions that are not associated with the tags are actually better. This is why I put right at the bottom, you know, cosmic champions with buffs were good at kind of like working with the first 1.1. The same thing with like the 1.2, which is like high debuff damage champions because of the narrative of how that particular quest worked. And moving on to kind of like, yeah, bleed champions, and since this, other bleed champions, power control champions, slow debuff champions, you know, there's tons that were better to deal with. Even more so, like White Magneto with that passive stun actually seemed to be the more forgiving. And you couldn't use White Magneto against all the content, but if you're looking to use him and bring him in for the point of like dealing with certain champions, it was indeed a better option. And that shouldn't be a case month in, month out. We didn't have that when it came to the class-based system for Cavalier difficulty, and I don't think we should have it from here. But, you know, Cavalier difficulty. And to end on this point, it wasn't ridiculously bad, but it wasn't ridiculously good. Because you needed those cross fights to really kind of add that extra crunch and punch to your damage, they didn't seem like they were the best options overall. And that again is a problem. If you're building content to build around a specific type of narrative, to say like, okay, well, if you use the hashtag ones, they are going to be better for you, but you don't end up using them, then what's the point? It kind of puts us into the variant 8 situation that we had earlier last month. All of the stuff that I've kind of like said in this video have been submitted to Kabam as feedback, and I'm sure that they have taken it very seriously. The same way that they have taken seriously what's been said on the forums and various other different places as well. It's just like a learning curve for them to come up with ideas, but also forewarn players, if you are looking to rank up a champion, that it has a purpose for the future. And whether or not it's going like, okay, well, Kabam assumed that everybody who was Cavalier would have a broadened roster than they had at a higher rank that they had, or had options to take on this that were overly specific. Then, you know, that would have been better to go give players time. Unfortunately, they didn't, and that kind of like puts us all in a bit of a quandary with decisions of rank up. So I can imagine Kabam next month will go back to a class-based system for it, and then it's a case that further down the line, once they have done things like a hashtag crystal, that it could be more possible in the future. So yeah, what are your thoughts still on Cavalier difficulty? Have you done it? Have you progressed through it? Shout out to Kat Murdoch as well with her infographic. Links to that and as well my Cavalier cheat sheet are in the description down below. Yeah, crazy old times. Interesting to find out what players' feedback are, and you know, definitely, you know, from what I've seen on the forums, it is a mixed bag of people and where they are with kind of how they've grinded out and stuff like that. So yeah. Thanks very much for watching. My throat is killing me, and I can do one video and then I just like rest my throat and then come back to it. But you know, I've got content still to make for the weekend, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one though. Bye bye.